The automotive world is divided. On one side, you have fans convinced that a single YouTuber triggered a chain reaction that forced Porsche to abandon one of the most legendary car brands on the planet. On the other side, you have people insisting that's ridiculous, that a 93% profit collapse is the only story that matters here. But after digging into the timeline, the financials, and the deal itself, I can tell you the truth is more complicated than either camp wants to admit. And some evidence from October 2025 changes how you have to look at all of this. Let's start with the case for Matt Armstrong. The theory goes like this. Matt's viral series documenting his Bugatti Chiron rebuild didn't just entertain millions of people, it exposed something the brand had spent decades hiding in plain sight. Bugatti, the manufacturer charging well over £1 million per car and up to $20,000 for routine service visits, was using components shared with Volkswagen Polos, Audi A3s, and other mass-market vehicles. Interior trim, electrical components, parts you'd find in a family hatchback sitting under carbon fiber and leather in one of the most expensive cars ever built. Now, Bugatti has never claimed to engineer every single component from scratch. Modern hypercar manufacturers source parts from parent companies all the time. It's how the industry works. But there's a meaningful difference between the public understanding that and seeing it documented on camera. Matt didn't just tell people. He showed them. He held up the airbag. He found the $5 Veyron fuse. He walked viewers through the reality of what a Bugatti actually is underneath the mythology, and millions of people watched. The argument is that this created what some fans are now calling the Armstrong effect, a shift in brand perception that had real financial consequences. The logic flows like this. If customers begin questioning whether Bugatti's exclusivity is genuine, sales projections weaken. Weakened projections reduce the company's valuation. A reduced valuation makes Porsche's 45% stake in Bugatti Rimac worth less than it was a year earlier. And if you're already under severe financial pressure, selling a depreciating asset starts looking like the smart move. From this perspective, Matt's videos didn't just go viral. They applied real pressure at exactly the wrong moment for Porsche. It's a compelling theory, and the timing does raise questions. But the other side of this debate has an equally strong case, and it starts with one number, 93%. That's how much Porsche's operating profit dropped in 2024. Not a dip, not a rough quarter, a near-total collapse in profitability driven by restructuring costs, slowing EV demand, and a difficult global market. When new CEO Michael Steiner came in, his mandate was clear: strip the business back to its core, cut non-essential assets, and restore the company's financial health. A 45% stake in a joint hypercar venture, however prestigious, is not core Porsche business. It doesn't move the needle on the vehicles that actually fund the company. Selling it was always going to be part of the restructuring conversation, regardless of what was happening on YouTube. There's also a straightforward reality that the Armstrong effect theory struggles to fully account for. Bugatti doesn't sell cars to people who discover it through YouTube. Its customers are billionaires who have already owned multiple hypercars and who conduct due diligence with legal teams and financial advisors. The idea that a viral video meaningfully altered the purchasing decisions of that specific group of buyers, or that Porsche's boardroom factored it into a billion-dollar transaction, is a stretch. From this perspective, saying Matt caused any of this isn't just wrong. It gives one creator far more structural influence over global corporate finance than any individual realistically has. So where does the actual evidence land? Here's where it gets genuinely interesting. In October 2025, before Matt Armstrong's Chiron rebuild had gone fully viral, before the Audi airbag moment spread across the internet, before any of that, Matt Rimac was already in negotiations to acquire Porsche's 45% stake in Bugatti Rimac for approximately $1.1 billion. The goal was straightforward: full control, no outside oversight, complete freedom to direct Bugatti's future as he saw fit. The decision to sell was already in motion. Porsche wanted out because of financial pressure, and Rimac wanted independence. The pieces were already moving. But here's the part that complicates the clean narrative. The deal that eventually closed wasn't the deal that was being negotiated in October 2025. Rimac didn't take full ownership the way he originally planned. Instead, a consortium stepped in, led by HOF Capital, linked to the Egyptian-founded Sawiris family, and Abu Dhabi-based Blue 5 Capital. These outside investors joined Rimac in acquiring the stake, and the deal is expected to close by late 2026. So the original plan changed. And that gap between the October 2025 negotiations and the final consortium arrangement is where this whole debate actually lives. Why did the structure of the deal change? There are three reasonable explanations. The first is the one Matt's supporters favor. His videos damaged Bugatti's perceived valuation just enough to make solo financing harder for Rimac. Securing $1.1 billion against an asset that was attracting negative press about parts bin sharing becomes more difficult when lenders and investors are reading headlines about Audi A3 airbags in million-pound hypercars. Bringing in consortium partners could have been a practical response to tightening financing conditions. And if that's true, the Armstrong effect had a real, measurable impact on how the deal was structured, even if it didn't cause the sale itself. The second explanation is purely financial and has nothing to do with YouTube. Porsche's situation deteriorated further as the months went on. A consortium can move faster than a single buyer working through complex solo financing. Porsche may have needed the deal done quickly and on terms that a group of investors could provide more readily than Rimac alone. The change in structure, on this reading, reflects urgency on the seller's side, not pressure on the brand. The third explanation is the simplest. Rimac wanted the additional capital. More funding means more runway, more development resources, more ability to expand Bugatti's lineup and compete at the highest level of the market. Bringing in HOF Capital and Blue 5 Capital might not have been a fallback position. It might have been the smarter play all along. Rimac is a businessman. Taking on well-resourced partners from the Middle East and North Africa, regions with enormous luxury automotive demand, could be a deliberate strategic move that had nothing to do with Matt Armstrong or Porsche's timeline. The honest answer is probably some combination of all three. So who wins the debate? The people arguing that Matt caused Porsche to sell are overstating it. The sale was already in motion before his videos reached their peak impact, and Porsche's 93% profit collapse is more than sufficient to explain why they wanted out of a non-core asset. You don't need a YouTube conspiracy to explain a financially distressed company selling a stake it no longer wanted. But the people arguing Matt had zero impact are also probably wrong, or at least speaking with more certainty than the evidence allows. Brand perception matters in luxury markets. It matters to investors evaluating whether a brand's valuation is justified. It matters when financing large acquisitions against assets that are suddenly generating controversial press. The timing of Matt's most explosive content, landing directly in the middle of an already complex negotiation, means it would be difficult to prove it had no effect at all. What the Armstrong effect really describes isn't one man destroying a brand. Bugatti is not destroyed. It has a new ownership structure, a visionary CEO in Mate Rimac, and global investment backing from some of the world's wealthiest private capital groups. The brand is entering a new chapter, not going into decline. What the Armstrong effect actually describes is something rarer and more interesting. A content creator shifting public perception of an ultra-luxury brand at the exact moment that brand was in the middle of the biggest ownership transition in its recent history. Not causing the transition, not determining the outcome, but influencing the atmosphere in which it happened, and possibly the specific terms of how it was finalized. That is a genuinely remarkable thing for one person with a camera and a wrecked Bugatti to have pulled off, even partially. The final picture looks like this. Porsche sold because of financial necessity, that much is clear. Rimac wanted control and got it, though not in the solo capacity he originally intended. A consortium of global investors now backs Bugatti's future. And somewhere in between the October 2025 negotiations and the final deal structure, something shifted. Whether Matt Armstrong's documentation was part of that shift, or whether it was pure financial mechanics, or whether Rimac simply made a smart strategic call, we may never know with certainty. But the fact that this debate exists at all, that millions of people are seriously asking whether a YouTuber influenced a billion-dollar acquisition, says something real about the power of transparency in the modern automotive world. And in the end, that might be the most important part of the story.